Hello, this is Rob Mazak, and I'd like to take a moment to welcome you to the Life by Mazak podcast channel. Here on this channel, anything is possible. Any subject will and usually is discussed, and there's no telling how this message will unfold as we work through an idea, through an experience, or through a thought. These subjects come from the vast amount of information and experience through spirit, through life lessons, and from working with a lot of other people. Scripts are never used on this channel, and the message simply unfolds as the subject is discussed. Follow along and see where it leads us, or more specifically, where it leads me. These podcasts are produced in the hopes of helping others to benefit, to grow, and to excel in their own human experience. At Life by Mazak, we work towards helping you achieve wellness for your mind, your body, and your soul using many specialized services. Services that include psychic medium and tarot readings, quantum healing hypnosis, past life regression, intuitive Reiki healing, life coaching, and many other services. If you enjoyed this podcast, please click the like button and share this with others. Our goal is to reach as many people as we can with the knowledge that is shared on this podcast channel. Well, talking behind this mic is something I love to do, and I love to talk about all kinds of subjects, and just about everything is on the table to talk about. But have you ever had one of those days, one of those nights where you're just kind of sitting alone in your room, in this case, my RV? It's quiet, there's no music, there's no sound but the crazy amount of wind that's outside, rocking the trailer, and just wondering and pondering and feeling like there is just some massive shift or change coming. And I've talked about this in other podcasts, I believe. You've probably heard that before, that we all know in some way, shape, or form about things that are not necessarily visible. Pick up with the five senses: sight, hearing, smell, sound, all that. I don't think that was five. Oh, taste is another, I guess. But there's always that interesting bit of information that kind of just sits there and hovers right outside of your conscious grasp almost. And it's like you just want to wave it in. You just want to bring it in. And you want to know what's going on. And I don't know about you guys, but it just feels like massive and great change is just hanging there and ready to pounce on all of us. Now, I know that in our world today, there is great change. I mean, you don't have to look very far, at least outside of the United States, to know that within the last week, things have changed massively. We have a returning president who has, for the longest time in his campaign, said exactly what he's going to do, exactly what type of executive laws he was going to pass. And here we are, and he's actually doing that. I heard somebody say earlier on a video today that they have never seen a president ever shake up the federal government and the world as quickly as this man has. I'm not here to talk about how good he is or how bad he is. I'm not swayed by any particular party. I am just saying it has been a while, and great change actually, that this administration is so much different than the last, and it's going to be a very interesting ride. Now, aside from the president and all of those things, I do believe, if you look at the state of our world and what's going on, obviously, with the new presidency, new administration, I guess is a better way to put that we are going to be living in a very, very different world than I grew up in, and probably in a very different world than most of us can ever remember. And I do believe that this is some of the things that have been quote unquote prophesied for a long time. Big things that are supposed to happen. Big things that are supposed to come. Changes that are supposed to happen. And it would not surprise me if we see those things almost verbatim, almost by the book. Now, if I was going to run a world, manage a bunch of people, billions of people, and there was a very dominant religion or prophecy, you might think about that, about actually running a script to make it that way and make it such so that everybody, or the majority of everybody in your population, would just kind of roll along. And it is amazing to see how much one man, one person, can change the face of a nation, the planet, and all the people in it. It is just quite amazing. I mean, we have a history filled with individuals that have changed the face of the world, changed the face of the planet. You can look back at Martin Luther King, for example. I'm not the best historian, but that's the one that comes to mind. But a lot of us out here, I think, have just kind of gone along with life and allowed the steamrolling of the governmental arms around the world and in this nation to kind of just take us over. And I get it. We are kind of locked into a multitude and laborious amounts of laws. Try looking them up sometime. Just simply do yourself a favor one day. Whatever city you live in, go look up the water laws, especially in the United States. The laws simply about water. And it will blow your mind how many laws there are about water. There are so many rules and regulations and laws. It is absolutely amazing that all of us haven't been put in jail at some point or another, because it's so very simple and easy to find yourself in hot water with the law. We live in a world that is full of crazy violence, porn, suffering, mass killings. I mean, you name it. And I'm not here to bring everybody down. I'm just talking about the fact that we are alive at a very, very interesting time. A very, very interesting time. One that probably hasn't been this crazy and this much chaos in quite some time. Even though there's been lots of wars for us in the United States, we don't suffer directly from those things, other than the suffering of our brothers and sisters in arms that have gone and given the great sacrifice of death in those wars and injuries from those wars. Some that are long lasting, that just make them never the same. But direct war in the United States has not really been around for quite a lot of time. I think the last one, if I'm not mistaken, was the Civil War, and that was a while back. Yes, we had 9/11. We had some attacks on our soil. Whether those were really from somewhere else or done by our own folks, our own people, who knows? Not here to debate that. And we have had some things. But to have direct war and direct in-our-face influence due to war or conflict like that, we have not had that in the United States. I think most every country around the planet probably has. It doesn't seem like it's been here. And I'm sure there's a variety of reasons for that. But I say that because the great changes that we feel coming in the United States, and I do believe that are coming even stronger, I think are going to push the world into that single one world government that has been talked about for a long time. The New World Order, there's a lot of names for it. Agenda 2023 or 2030. I mean, there's just a lot of names for it. is, but the idea is to have a very centralized government, centralized bank, centralized food supply, centralized water supply. I mean, everything centralized and governed from one body of government that manages the world. Now, this sounds really cool, I guess. It could. But for the United States, people of the United States, does not sound cool at all. Because we've had the good life. There's no other way to say it. We've had the good life, even though many of you out there would say my life's not good. But if you were to go and compare it to many of the other lives that happen in other countries, you would probably not trade for any of those lives ever. You would take your problems here any day. So I think us Americans have been spoiled in a lot of ways. And I'm not saying that it's our fault. I mean, if you're born here or you came here and you've been here a long time and you're a citizen, whatever, I get that. I'm not saying it's our fault and we should feel bad about that. I'm just saying I think a lot of us Americans are the ones that are going to feel the pain more than anything if we move to a centralized government. Because the idea there, I believe, if I'm reading it all right, is that it will be sort of like a socialist type of government where spreading the wealth is important. They'll be wealthy, but primarily it'll be those that are completely and utterly dependent on a system of the government. And it won't be like this free enterprise and this capitalism and striving to be the best. It'll be more mandated and processed type of environment where basically you get to do what you get to do and you're happy with what you got or don't have, and that's just the way things are. It will, though, I think, it will help a lot of other countries really raise their standards. And a lot of the population will be very happy about the things that they get to have now, where for us Americans it'll be like, this is what we, oh, well, I guess this is what we get, and it won't be the same. And that just kind of comes from conditioning and the way we were raised. I get that. Nobody born anywhere is at fault because they didn't choose to be born there. Well, maybe in some metaphysical or spiritual way. Practically speaking, I didn't make a choice before I was born to be born in the United States. Somebody that lives in some impoverished country that barely has food or water, they did not practically choose to be born into that society and suffer. And so I believe that as we move along and as the paradigm shifts greatly for everyone on this planet, I think we're going to see some really interesting times. Some people will benefit, some people won't. But I do believe it is supposed to happen. I do believe this is the pattern. If you look back at all the civilizations that have come and gone in our known history, it's kind of that way, where there was a more centralized government. And what I find interesting is my stepson tells me that he doesn't see a problem with it because he says, he watches a lot of Star Wars and whatever movies that talk about centralized governments. He said all of the worlds that he sees in these movies, sci-fi movies and things like that, are all run by one centralized government. He said it seems like we're the oddball out, and maybe we are. Maybe if there are planets out there, if that's really what's out there, and that there are places like this Earth or something similar where that can sustain life, I bet that's absolutely true. I bet that other worlds run things much differently, and the stress and the pull and the power grab and all of that happens in capitalism and on this planet all over the place. I doubt that would happen in a world where centralized government has been the norm. I doubt that it would be as stressful. Now, for us to reach that point, if that's what's going to happen, is going to be the stressful part. if we end up being in some type of new world order, some type of one world government, all centralized, the process of getting there and unconditioning people and pushing people in that direction, corralling them, forcing them down a specific path, will be the stressful time, the hard time. I think once we get there, if we get there, that it will settle out and it'll just become normal to everybody that comes along during that time and after that time. I think we all get used to what we get used to. What happens in our life becomes patterns and becomes normal. I mean, it's always a fight to make change, right? If you're in the United States, you remember, especially if you're old enough like me, we didn't have to wear seatbelts. Most vehicles, cars, did not come with seatbelts. If they did, they were just a simple lap seatbelt. And we know how well that works on a steel steering wheel if you have an accident, right? But when the mandate for seatbelts came into law, it was a crazy fight. People fought it and fought it and fought it and got tickets and on and on. And now it's just a normal thing. Nobody even thinks about it. I get in my vehicle, first thing I do, click that seatbelt around my lap and my chest. It's not even something I think about. But long ago it was. And I think that's how human history has always been. We make changes, or changes are made for us. We fight them, we fight them, we fight them, and then it just becomes a normal part of the process. I mean, we fought and fought and fought against COVID vaccinations. Many people did. And we just were angry and shaking our fists and having riots and all these different things. And now it's almost just normal before you go to school, before you go to some jobs. It's just a routine vaccination now. When before it was like, oh my God, you're killing us. Who knows if they are or not. I'm not here to talk about that. But the point is that everything that comes along in our life that is massive change or a big shift in our paradigm, we fight it. We fight change. We always fight change. So why is it that we fight change? Is it because it feels like our free will is being tampered with? The fact that we should be able to make choices and not have mandates on us, especially as humans? That's probably the big part of it. Whoever created us decided we should have free will. Now, free will is not exactly what you think it is, of course. But we do have choices. We can make a choice. We can choose to disobey laws. We can choose to go against mandates. And, what is the consequences, what we have to accept. So those are choices. And yes, those are free will. But once we have broken those laws or those mandates or whatever regulations are put in front of us, and we are suffering the consequences, we no longer have free will. So what is free will really? Maybe it's just the fact that we can go down the store and choose what type of toothpaste we like to buy, or what kind of car we would like to purchase if we have the ability to. I don't think we have as many choices as you might imagine. I don't think our free will is quite what most people think it is. Most people think that free will is really just being willy-nilly and doing whatever the heck you want without any consequences, without any ethical dilemmas or anything like that. But I don't think that's what free will is all about. Free will is, I think, just part of the programming that was inserted and put into our DNA, our genes, our essence, so that we could learn what it's like to be human. My understanding in the great big spiritual paradigm, metaphysical paradigm, if any of that's true, that Earth is one of the only places in our universe where life forms, us humans specifically, have the ability to get free will when I do hypnosis with clients or on clients, that comes through quite often, that this Earth School is a place, and the only place in the universe that actually has free will. Nowhere else you get to choose. What do you think is going to be happening in our near future? What are you feeling? What are you picking up on? I don't know about everybody, but as I began this little talk that I wasn't sure how I was going to go with it or where it was going to go, I'm feeling it very strongly. I'm seeing the patterns, I'm seeing the things, I'm seeing the direction, I'm feeling the direction, and it's almost like that disturbingly loud silence. I don't know if there's a real way to describe it, but have you ever sat in silence? Once again, like I started out this talk, have you ever sat in silence in a very, very quiet room, and it's almost like you can hear the silence? That's what it's like for me right now, and I bet for a lot of you guys. And what do we normally do when we're facing ourselves in these unknowns and these fears, if you will? Most of us are going to distract ourselves in some way, shape, or form. Watching TV for endless amounts of hours. Watching a football game for endless amount of hours. Scrolling through TikTok and social media. Just all kind of things that we can do that are trying to numb our senses, turn off that intuition that is trying to come through to talk to us. And even when you're good at it, sometimes it is very difficult to tune in. Because earlier, well, almost right before I started this podcast talk, I was laying on my couch over there behind me, and I was trying to meditate and connect and see if I could connect to this strange feeling we're talking about. And the only thing I could really feel or connect with was just what felt like extreme chaos. Like, how do I describe it? It's like flashing lights, movement, pieces of memories and visuals, and just all over the place. Like it's like there was no way to focus in on one scene or one idea. And I really gave it the old college try, but I just simply could not get past this energy of great chaos. And, that could simply be coming from within myself and the stresses that I have working for the military like I do in my current role, and all the great changes that are happening because of all the executive orders coming from federal down to state. Yes, that could be part of it because those things are coming. But it could also be that I'm picking up on the energy of the universe or the cosmos as a whole. And I do feel like it's maybe a little bit of both. But if you are in tune at all with any intuition, I think that most of you would probably align with what I'm saying. That it just feels like there's just absolute uncertainty in the air. And it is quite obvious if you turn on the TV of why maybe some of that is. But if you're not looking at the television and you're simply just sitting in a quiet RV trailer like me and just listening to that silence and that strange intuition and that chaos, it feels like that within that chaos, within that strange energy, there's something waiting to be picked out of it. Just something to be picked out of it that's going to be my piece and my role or my experience. And I do think that is the case with all of us here, to be honest. I do believe that we come here for very specific purposes and reasons, and to live life with the people, interact with the people that we do. And I think we choose those ahead of time. And I do believe that we do choose to come into times like this as we are going through this quote-unquote great ascension process. At the same time, we're going through other massive, great practical and physical changes. I do believe we choose to come in and play that role, to be one of the participants, and perhaps either to suffer along with it for some reason, or to be that person that helps others through the process. I would hope that I'm one of those that's here to help others through the process. And I'm sure that many of you out there are. We are all in this together. Let's just face it. We're all in this together. And we are way beyond any way possible to just kind of disappear into the woods, live off the grid, and nobody finds you. Those times are over. Everybody in the governmental arm, somebody I should say, always knows where you are. Everybody knows how to find you. So when they say they can't find somebody, I have a hard time believing that. Because I could be out in the middle of nowhere, even have a simple thought, and next thing you know, when I pop onto any device or any device, any technology, I find that my thoughts are being transcribed or put into my algorithms. That's a tough word. And so I don't think that we can disconnect at this point. So the question is, how do we get along? How do we figure out how to navigate this process? Well, that's a tough thing to answer. I think that's all individualized. But I do think that we are going to have to focus on ourselves. I'm going to suggest that helping others is great, yes. But remember that the biggest focus should be on helping yourself. Helping yourself become the strongest person and human being that you can, physically, mentally, spiritually, all the above, so that when the tough times come, and they're coming, that you can be way more prepared and you can be more helpful to others. Because if you can barely help yourself, then there's no way you're ever going to help anybody else. And if you have a family, if you have friends, if you're in a relationship, you have kids, all that, you're going to want to be there for those people. And if you can't take the time now, while we still have opportunities to help ourselves, then you will in no way, shape, or form be ready to help others, those that are most important to you. And we can affect change within ourselves. I think that's where our free will really is important. That we have to decide that it doesn't matter how we feel, doesn't matter what our emotions say, it doesn't matter what is going on in our life. We should be doing the things that are going to bring us up in this world, to make us stronger in all aspects, to get us through our day. I showed up at the gym tonight, and one of the guys that seems to know me by name that works there, all of a sudden, I don't know why he knows my name, but he's like, "Hey, Robert, how you doing today?" I said, "I am tired." He said, "Don't come in here with those excuses." I said, it really doesn't matter how I feel. Feelings have nothing to do with it. I'm here, and I'm going to do something, and that's why I'm here. I'm not saying that to pat myself on the back. I'm not saying that. What I'm trying to say is that's kind of the example I'm talking about, is that our feelings and our emotions, they run, and they'll run an automatic pilot if you let them. And I think you should, I know you should, and I charge you to take more command of those feelings and those emotions. Yes, if they come in strong, deal with it, let it go through. Don't let it stay. It's not a lifetime sentence. Let's figure out what it is that we need to do to prepare for the times that are coming, whether they come or not, like I'm speaking about, but I think we all know they're coming. We must be prepared. We absolutely must be prepared, and we need to put the time in now, why we have more choices, why we have more avenues to actually do those things before we're squeezed even farther and farther and farther down. Perhaps the economy is going to drop and we can't even afford to think about anything but trying to make enough money to eat. Right now, things are fair. They're not bad. They're not good. If they do turn bad, or they do turn sour, or they do turn in a different direction, like we've been talking about, we must all put on the armor of protection for ourselves. And that can be done a lot of ways, and only you can decide what that is. What you desire your life to look like and how you would like to protect those around you is up to you as well. I can't tell you how to do that, how to feel, or what to think. But what I will strongly suggest you do is put that into aspect, write it down, think about it, put it on your mirror, and just decide to do it. Don't let your feelings and your emotions screw you, because they will. Feelings and emotions have nothing to do with your purpose. Absolutely nothing. They are there to kind of keep us protected, keep us soft. And we are a generation that has gone soft because times have been too good. We need to pull up our bootstraps, put on our big girl, big boy panties, and let's get busy. I encourage you guys to go to my website, because I would like to speak with you, work with you guys. And in the process of working together, we all learn. I learn, you learn. Everybody learns together. My website is lifebymazak.com, lifebymazak.com. There's contact page, there's services page, there's product page, there's all of that. But the main focus is there's contact information, and we should be discussing and exchanging ideas and figuring out how we can boost each other up, prop each other up, and help as many people get through this crazy times that are coming. Help as many people as we can, and help ourselves primarily in the process. I look forward to hearing from you guys. You'll hear from me many times over. Stay strong and live your life.